I used to dismiss ghost stories as nothing more than tales told to spook children or entertain at campfires. But that changed forever after one fateful night in Harrowsville. The legend of Oakwood Manor, once a dark tale of tragedy and supernatural revenge, became my reality, and it transformed my understanding of fear. Oakwood Manor was the kind of place you'd expect in a gothic horror film. Its grandiose facade, now a crumbling skeleton of its former self, loomed like a malignant presence on the outskirts of town. The mansion had been abandoned for decades, its history a macabre story of Richard Graves, a World War I veteran whose life ended in a horrifying spiral of violence. According to local lore, Graves returned from the war to find his family gone. Consumed by grief and madness, he murdered his wife and children before taking his own life with a revolver. It was said that his spirit still roamed the manor, clutching the same revolver, forever trapped between the realms of the living and the dead, seeking an end that would never come. My involvement began innocuously enough. I was working as a delivery driver, tasked with delivering a package to an address that seemed almost mythical. R. Graves, Oakwood Manor. The GPS led me down a winding, desolate road lined with skeletal trees whose branches seemed to reach out like skeletal hands. As I approached, the manor's imposing silhouette emerged from the darkness, a decaying edifice with broken windows that stared back like empty eyes. The front door of the manor was ajar, creaking with the wind as if inviting me in. Driven by curiosity and a sense of duty, I approached the door, clutching the package. The air was unnervingly cold, and the wind carried with it an eerie stillness. I placed the package on the doorstep and was about to leave when a sudden chill ran down my spine. It felt as though the temperature had dropped several degrees in an instant. As I turned, I saw him, Richard Graves. Or rather, his ghostly apparition. He stood just inside the doorway, dressed in a tattered military uniform. His face was pale, gaunt, and hollow-eyed, exuding an otherworldly aura. The revolver he held gleamed menacingly in the dim light. "Leave," he rasped, his voice a hollow whisper. "Leave and don't come back." Fear rooted me to the spot. The ghost's eyes were dark voids, filled with an indescribable anguish. The revolver's barrel was aimed directly at me, its cold metal reflecting the faint light. Time seemed to slow as he raised the gun. A deafening crack shattered the silence as he pulled the trigger. The bullet embedded itself in the wall beside me, but the sheer terror was enough to propel me into action. I fled, my heart pounding as I scrambled back to the van and sped away from the manor, its silhouette growing fainter in my rearview mirror. My mind raced with disbelief and fear. When I finally returned to town, I discovered something truly horrifying. The package I had left on the manor's doorstep was now sitting on the passenger seat beside me. It was addressed to me. Inside the package was the very revolver I had seen. Its surface was old and rusted, and a single bullet was chambered, engraved with my name. My hands trembled as I dropped the revolver, the weight of what had happened crashing over me. The nightmares began almost immediately. That night, I dreamed of Oakwood Manor. The mansion appeared in my dreams, always shrouded in an oppressive darkness. I could see Graves' anguished face, and I felt the revolver's weight pressing down on my chest, making it difficult to breathe. I woke up in a cold sweat, every creak of my apartment or gust of wind setting my nerves on edge. The line between dream and reality blurred, leaving me in a constant state of fear. Desperate to rid myself of the cursed object, I tried everything. I buried the revolver in the woods, hoping that the earth would swallow its evil. I threw it into a river, hoping the water would carry it away. I even attempted to burn it, watching as the flames consumed the wood and metal. Yet, each time, the revolver reappeared, as if mocking my efforts. The whispers began, soft, insidious murmurs urging me to pick up the revolver, to finish what had been started. My paranoia grew. I avoided leaving my apartment, keeping my windows tightly shut and double-checking every lock. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, a constant presence in my thoughts. Every shadow seemed to harbor a lurking menace, and every noise felt like a prelude to something terrible. One evening, a knock on my door jolted me from my stupor. Peering through the peephole, I saw a man in a dark trench coat and fedora. His presence was strangely theatrical, almost out of place. Despite my fear, I opened the door. "Mr. Thompson?" he asked, his voice smooth yet unsettling. "I have something for you." He handed me a small, leather-bound notebook. My heart skipped a beat when I recognized the handwriting from the package. "How do you know my name?" I asked, my voice trembling. The man's smile was cold and enigmatic. "I know many things. I'm here to return something." The notebook was filled with detailed notes and sketches, observations about Oakwood Manor, the revolver, and disturbing details about my own life. It included notes on my habits, routines, and even drawings of my apartment. The final page featured a crude sketch of the revolver with a bullet inscribed with my name. I attempted to confront the man, but he vanished around a corner before I could ask further questions. That night, the whispers surged into a cacophony, a discordant symphony of voices urging me to act. The ghost's face appeared in every shadow, his voice carried on every breeze. The next day, I resolved to return to Oakwood Manor, driven by the need to end this torment. The storm that gathered over the town mirrored the turmoil within me. I packed essentials, grabbed the notebook and the revolver, and drove back to the manor, each mile amplifying my anxiety. As I approached, the manor looked even more menacing under the storm's bleak light. I entered through the creaking door, flashlight in hand. The interior was a relic of decay, dust-covered furniture, cobwebs, and an oppressive silence that seemed to pulse with malevolence. Guided by the notebook's cryptic instructions, I ventured deeper into the manor. The whispers followed, growing louder and more frantic. My nerves were frayed as I discovered a hidden compartment in the basement, concealed behind a loose panel. Inside was a small wooden box. Trembling, I opened it to reveal the revolver, the same one I had seen before. With the revolver in hand and the final bullet chambered, I made my way back to the study, where the ghost had first appeared. The whispers surged into a chaotic frenzy as I prepared to confront the curse. The air was thick with tension, the shadows seeming to close in around me. I placed the bullet in the chamber, and aimed the revolver at the wall. My finger trembled on the trigger, the weight of the moment pressing heavily on me. I pulled the trigger, and the gunshot rang out, a thunderous roar that shook the very foundations of the manor. The echoes of the gunshot faded, leaving an oppressive silence. The whispers abruptly ceased, replaced by a heavy, suffocating quiet. The revolver was now empty, the curse seemingly lifted. I looked around the room, feeling a mixture of relief and profound exhaustion. As I prepared to leave, a chilling realization struck me. The notebook, the revolver, and the ghost were part of something deeper, more sinister. The curse may have been broken, but the shadows of Oakwood Manor would always linger. The final bullet had been fired, but the terror of that night would never truly end. I left Oakwood Manor behind, hoping to move on. But the memories and the haunting whispers stayed with me. The nightmares gradually subsided, but a lingering sense of dread persisted. Richard Graves and his curse were no longer mere stories. They were a part of my life, a chilling reminder that some legends are more than folklore. In the quiet of my apartment, I still hear faint whispers, a constant echo of that night. Sometimes, I find myself glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see the spectral figure of Richard Graves standing there, revolver in hand, waiting for the curse to be fulfilled. Somewhere in the dark recesses of my mind, the ghost's voice still lingers, a haunting refrain. "It's not done, not yet.